Thursday morning broke gray and humid over the depot, the kind of October weather that made the brown uniform stick to your skin before you'd even loaded the first package. I'd been up since 4:30 a.m., my usual time, going through my routine with the precision of a Swiss watch. Shower, shave, coffee, breakfast, check the news, review the day's route. Except today wasn't my usual route. Rodriguez got that stomach bug that's going around, Marcus had told me the night before. Need you to cover Willowbrook Estates tomorrow. You know it? Yeah, I know it. Everyone knew Willowbrook. It was where the other half lived. The half that complained if you left packages at the wrong side of their three-car garages or stepped on their professionally maintained lawns. 18 years with UPS had taught me that every neighborhood had its rhythm. Downtown was fast drops and businesses that knew you by name. The suburbs were stay-at-home moms and retirees who'd chat your ear off if you let them. Willowbrook was different. It was careful footsteps on marble porches and signatures from people who barely looked at you. I'd loaded Rodriguez's truck with the same methodical care I used for my own route. 812 packages, sorted by street, organized by delivery order. The scanner showed 14 signature-required deliveries, including one for 7823 Sycamore Ridge Drive that caught my attention. High-value electronics, adult signature required, scheduled delivery between 10 and 2 p.m. The morning deliveries went smoothly. Willowbrook residents were predictable. They wanted their packages placed precisely where their apps indicated. Photos taken at the right angle. No interaction unless absolutely necessary. I was making good time, actually ahead of schedule when I turned onto Sycamore Ridge at 10:28 a.m. The houses here were newer, part of the expansion that had pushed Willowbrook from merely wealthy to obscenely rich. Each one was unique, but somehow identical. The same manicured perfection, the same three-car garages, the same invisible fence systems keeping invisible dogs in invisible lines. Number 7823 sat at the curve of a cul-de-sac, a sprawling contemporary with floor-to-ceiling windows across the front. The driveway held a silver Lexus SUV that looked familiar, but then again, half the driveways in Willowbrook had similar vehicles. The license plate, FLXFLOW, meant nothing to me at the time. I grabbed the package, checked the label again, definitely needed a signature, and headed up the walkway. The house was silent. No dogs barking, no TV sounds drifting through windows. I rang the doorbell at exactly 10:34 a.m., heard it echo through what sounded like a cavern of marble and hardwood inside. Footsteps approached, light and quick. The door opened, and my entire world tilted off its axis. Natalie stood there in her purple yoga outfit, the Lululemon set I'd bought her for Christmas last year. Her face was flushed, hair pulled back in a messy ponytail with strands escaping around her face. She was barefoot, slightly out of breath, and for a split second she smiled at me with the automatic pleasantness she reserved for service people. Then recognition hit. I watched it happen in slow motion, the smile freezing, her eyes widening, the color draining from her face so fast I thought she might faint. "Dom?" Her voice came out as a whisper, then stronger, pitched with something between panic and indignation. "What are you? This isn't your route. You don't deliver here." "Rodriguez is sick," I heard myself say, though my voice sounded like it was coming from very far away. "I need a signature for—" "Everything okay, sweetheart?" A male voice drifted from somewhere deeper in the house. Casual, comfortable, intimate. "Is it the delivery? Just sign for it and come back. Coffee's getting cold." I knew that voice. Garrett Steinberg, her business partner at Flex and Flow, the Pilates studio I'd helped finance. The man she'd assured me was practically gay and completely in love with his wife. The man whose wife, Sylvia, had inherited a fortune from her father's real estate empire. That Garrett Steinberg. The package slipped from my hands. It hit the porch with a solid thunk, probably broke whatever was inside, but I couldn't bring myself to care. I pushed past Natalie, who grabbed at my arm with fingers that felt like burning ice. "Dom, wait!" "It's not, you don't understand." I shook her off and followed the sound of that voice, my boots leaving dirt marks on marble floors that probably cost more per square foot than I made in a day. The house opened into a massive great room, all white walls and abstract art, leading to a kitchen that belonged in a magazine. Garrett stood at the island, shirtless, wearing only pajama pants that clearly weren't his. Too short, too tight. He was pouring coffee from a French press into 2 mugs, one of which already had lipstick marks on the rim. My wife's lipstick. The shade I'd bought her for our anniversary because she'd admired it at Nordstrom but said it was too expensive. He looked up when I entered, his expression cycling through confusion, recognition, and then pure, undiluted panic. "Dominic." He set the coffee pot down so hard it cracked. "This is just, we were reviewing the studio expansion plans." In her yoga clothes? My voice was steady, eerily calm. At 10:30 in the morning, without a shirt, in a house that isn't yours or mine? "You don't understand the situation," Garrett started, trying to pull himself up to his full height, attempting authority. "Natalie and I have been working on—" "Stop talking." I pulled out my phone, ignoring their protests. Click. Garrett's dress shirt draped over the breakfast bar stool, his TAG Heuer watch on top of it. Click. 2 wine glasses on the counter, one still holding a puddle of red at the bottom. Click. Garrett's wedding ring on the counter next to his wallet and keys. Click. My wife's wedding ring sitting right beside it, the diamond I'd spent 3 months of overtime to afford catching the morning light through those floor-to-ceiling windows. "Dom, please let me explain." Natalie had followed me in, her bare feet silent on the tile. She reached for my phone, but I held it above her reach. She'd always hated how much taller I was. "This isn't what it looks like. I needed someone to talk to. You're always working, 60-hour weeks, sometimes 70. You never pay attention to me anymore." "I was working," I said, meeting her eyes for what I already knew would be the last time as her husband. "Right now. Today. Paying for our house, our life. The studio you're apparently using as a cover story." "It's not a cover story." Her voice rose, becoming shrill. "We really were discussing the studio." "Which room?" I asked, pulling up the camera roll on my phone. "The bedroom where your bra is hanging on the doorknob? The one I can see from here?" She turned to look, and yes, there it was, pale pink lace against dark wood, visible through the half-open door down the hallway. The Victoria's Secret set I'd given her for Valentine's Day. Garrett had found his voice again, moving toward his shirt. "Now look, Dominic, we're all adults here. Sometimes these things happen." "These things?" I turned to him, and whatever he saw in my face made him step back. "You mean adultery? Betrayal? Destroying 2 marriages? Those kinds of things?" "It's not like that," Natalie said, but her voice had lost all conviction. "Garrett and I, we have a connection. You wouldn't understand. You're so practical, so routine. Every day the same thing. Work, gym, dinner, TV, bed. Where's the passion? Where's the excitement?" The passion? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. The excitement? I thought the passion was in building a life together. I thought the excitement was in achieving our dreams. Like your studio, the one I co-signed for, the one I invested $75,000 in. Garrett's face went pale at the mention of money. That's between you and Natalie. No, actually, it's between me, Natalie, and you. See, I have access to the studio's books, part of the investment agreement. And I'm betting if I look closely, I'll find some interesting transactions, like consulting fees paid to your gym that happen to match the dates of Natalie's girls' weekends. The silence that followed was deafening. They exchanged a look, guilty, panicked, caught. How long? I asked, though I wasn't sure I wanted to know. Natalie opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. It's not important. How long? Since June, Garrett said quietly. Since April, Natalie corrected, not looking at him. 8 months. I did the math quickly. Since my father's funeral. You started this while I was burying my father. You were so distant, Natalie protested. So closed off. You wouldn't talk to me about how you were feeling. So you talked to him instead? With your clothes off? I turned and walked out, stepping over the package still lying on the porch. Behind me, Natalie called my name, her voice escalating from pleading to demanding to hysterical. I heard Garrett trying to calm her down, telling her to let me go, that I needed time to cool off. I got in the truck, typed a quick message to dispatch about a family emergency, and drove away from Willowbrook Estates. In the rearview mirror, I could see Natalie standing in the doorway of a house that wasn't hers, wearing yoga clothes that I'd bought, crying tears that meant nothing. Marcus was in the loading bay when I pulled in 15 minutes later, the truck still 3/4 full of undelivered packages. What happened? He asked, taking one look at my face. Family emergency. I need to take some time. Rodriguez can finish his route tomorrow. Take whatever you need, Dom. 20 years of perfect attendance. You've earned it. I drove straight to Harrison Watts's law office in downtown. His secretary tried to tell me he was in a meeting, but Harrison must have heard my voice because his door opened immediately. Dominic? What's wrong? I need a divorce lawyer, and I need one right now. Harrison closed the door behind me, poured 2 glasses of whiskey despite it being 11 a.m., and listened while I laid out what I'd discovered. He took notes on a yellow legal pad, asking occasional questions, his expression growing darker with each detail. You want to divorce her, he said when I finished. What else do you want? Everything. I want everything, but legally, completely above board. I want her to lose everything through the proper channels. The house? VA loan, my name only. She's not on the deed, just listed as resident for tax purposes. Good. Joint accounts? I'm heading to the bank next. What's the maximum I can withdraw without her signature? Half of whatever's in there. But do it today. Right now, actually. Document everything with timestamps. Get your direct deposit changed immediately. The studio? Harrison leaned back. Tell me about the investment. I pulled out my phone, showed him the photos I'd taken of documents in our home safe before I'd left for work that morning. Something had been nagging at me for weeks, a feeling that things weren't right. 75,000, Harrison read. Structured as a secured loan with an acceleration clause. Breach of trust provision. He looked up. Who suggested this structure? Her lawyer, actually, said it would protect my investment if anything went wrong with the business. Harrison actually laughed. Ironic. This breach of trust provision, it's broad, very broad. Infidelity would certainly qualify. I can trigger the acceleration clause today. Full payment due in 15 days. Do it. What about Garrett? What about him? He's married to Sylvia Richardson. Her father is Michael Richardson. He owns half the commercial real estate in this city, including the building where Garrett runs his gym. I leaned forward. You're suggesting I should inform her? I'm suggesting that if your wife and her business partner have been using studio funds to finance their affair, that's embezzlement. And Sylvia Richardson has a right to know what her husband has been doing, as does her father, who I believe has a morality clause in all his commercial leases. Make it happen. I spent the next 3 hours in Harrison's office, building a comprehensive timeline. While I was there, I used his computer to access our phone records online. Natalie didn't know I had the password to our cell phone account. Jesus Christ, Harrison muttered, looking at the data. 437 texts between them just last week. Look at the timestamps, I said, pointing to the screen. She was texting him during dinner with my mother last Sunday. Told me she was looking at work emails. We pulled credit card records next. Harrison had me log into our online banking while he documented everything with screenshots and printouts. The Marriott downtown, he read. 3 nights, 2 weeks ago. When was she supposedly at a yoga retreat in Sedona with her sister? Lauren wasn't even in the country that week. She was in Paris for her anniversary. These restaurant charges, all at places she told me she went with clients or her girlfriends. I pointed to one. That's a $400 dinner at Chez Laurent. She told me it was a birthday dinner for her assistant. Her assistant makes $15 an hour. Harrison compiled everything into a folder, then a digital file. I need you to go to the bank now, then change your direct deposit, then go home and secure the house. Change the locks? Legally, it's your house. She's a guest. So yes, change the locks, install cameras if you can, document everything she takes or tries to take. And Dominic? He met my eyes. Don't do anything stupid. Don't threaten anyone. Don't touch anyone. Let the system work. The system screws men in divorces. Not when we have this much documentation. Not when there's embezzlement involved. Not when the house is solely yours. Trust me. The bank was my next stop. The manager, who I'd known for 10 years, didn't ask questions when I withdrew half of our joint savings and checking accounts. $47,000 in total. I opened new accounts at a credit union across town, changed my direct deposit with UPS's HR department over the phone while sitting in my car, and had them email me confirmation. By 2 p.m., I was at my house, with a locksmith Harrison had recommended. Urgent job, the locksmith said, looking at the house. Must be serious. My wife decided she prefers her yoga instructor to her husband, I said flatly. Say no more. I'll have you set up with our best locks. You want the keypad entry? Easier to change codes than keys if she makes a scene. Do it. While he worked, I installed a security camera system I'd bought at Best Buy on the way home. 8 cameras, full coverage of all entrances and the driveway. The app on my phone let me monitor everything remotely. Then came the methodical process of securing my life. I went through the house room by room, photographing everything for documentation. Her jewelry, most of it gifts from me, legally mine according to the text Harrison sent while I worked. Her designer clothes and bags, joint property, but I left them alone for now. The art we'd collected, I had receipts showing I'd paid for most of it. I packed her immediate necessities into suitcases, clothes, toiletries, medications. Everything else went into boxes, labeled with their contents and the date packed. I wasn't vindictive about it. Her grandmother's china stayed carefully wrapped. Her photo albums were placed gently in protective containers, but it all went into the garage. At 4 p.m., while I was loading the last box, a text came through from Natalie. "Where are you? We need to talk." I didn't respond. Another. "Dom, please. It's not what you think." Then, "You can't just leave like this." "We have a marriage," I texted back once. Had. Past tense. She arrived while I was setting up the last camera, screeching into the driveway in her white BMW, the one I'd bought her for her 35th birthday, I realized with bitter clarity. Also in my name. "What are you doing?" She tried her key, found it useless. "Dom, open this door right now." I opened it but stood in the doorway, blocking her entry. "Your belongings are in the garage. You have 30 days to find alternative housing. You can't just kick me out. I live here. This is my home." "No, you lived here. The house is in my name only. VA loan, remember? You're a resident, not an owner. Your attorney can explain the difference." "We're married. California is a community property state." "The house is premarital asset," I lied smoothly. "We'd bought it 2 years after the wedding, but she'd never paid attention to the paperwork." "Your attorney can review the documents." "This is insane." "It was just a mistake. We can work this out. Go to counseling." 8 months of mistakes? Every hotel charge was a mistake. Every text was a mistake. Every lie about where you were and who you were with? All mistakes? Her face paled. "You went through my phone? Our phone plan, my account. All legal. And before you ask, yes, it's all documented, including the creative use of studio funds for your romantic getaways." "That's not..." Garrett said it was legal. Garrett says a lot of things, like "I do" to his wife Sylvia. Speaking of which, she should be receiving an interesting package via courier in about, I checked my watch, 20 minutes. The remaining color drained from Natalie's face entirely. "You didn't. Dom, you can't. She'll destroy him." "That's not my problem. Your boxes are in the garage. Don't try to enter the house. There are cameras now, and I've already filed for a restraining order." "A restraining order? Against your wife?" "Ex-wife. Pending paperwork. And yes, given that you've been conducting an affair that could be considered emotional abuse, my lawyer felt it was appropriate." I closed the door on her shouts and threats, went to the kitchen, and made myself a sandwich with mechanical precision. Turkey, Swiss, mustard, lettuce, tomato. The same sandwich I'd made for lunch every Saturday for 15 years, the one Natalie always mocked as boring. My phone buzzed constantly. Natalie, then numbers I didn't recognize, probably Garrett. I blocked them all and ate in peace, staring out the window at the backyard where we'd planned to put in a pool, maybe have kids someday. At 4:47 p.m., Harrison called. Sylvia Richardson received the package. And she's already called her father. Garrett's gym lease will be terminated by end of business day. She's also filing for divorce and freezing all joint assets. Apparently, this isn't his first affair, but it will be his last. Good. There's more. The forensic accountant I recommended just sent preliminary findings. Your wife and Garrett have been running quite the scheme. Studio membership fees being diverted to a shell company, then paid to Garrett's gym as consulting fees. We're talking about $60,000 over 8 months. That's fraud. That's felony fraud. I've already notified the district attorney's office. They're very interested. By Friday morning, the dominoes were falling fast. Garrett's gym was padlocked when he arrived at 5 a.m. for his usual workout. The notice on the door cited lease violations and immediate termination. His keycard didn't work. Security escorted him off the property when he tried to force his way in. Natalie's studio was in chaos. I'd formally called in the $75,000 loan Thursday night, giving her the legally required 15 days to pay. The letter was delivered to the studio during Friday morning's peak class time. She tried to call me 43 times in an hour. Her voicemail at attempt number 37. Dom, please? The studio is all I have. I'll lose everything. You promised you'd always support my dreams. Harrison played it on speaker in his office. Technically, she's already lost everything. This is just paperwork catching up to reality. What about criminal charges? The DA is reviewing the evidence. Given the clear paper trail and the amounts involved, I'd expect charges within the week. Saturday brought new developments. The Willowbrook Community Facebook page lit up with posts about the scandal. Someone, not me, though I had my suspicions about Sylvia, had shared the basic details. The comments were brutal. I always knew she was too good for him. Garrett's been hitting on every woman at the gym for years. That poor UPS driver. Such a good man. Natalie always acted so superior. Guess she's not so perfect after all. By Monday, Natalie's studio was hemorrhaging members. 60% canceled within a week. The remaining 40% were demanding refunds for prepaid classes, citing loss of trust in management. She showed up at my work Monday afternoon, causing a scene in the parking lot. "You're destroying my life," she screamed as security approached. All because of one mistake. 8 months of mistakes, I corrected calmly, and I'm not destroying anything. I'm just no longer preventing the consequences of your choices. Security escorted her away, while my coworkers watched from windows. Marcus called me into his office afterward. "I don't know the details and I don't want to," he said. "But if you need a restraining order, the company will support it. We can't have her disrupting operations." Already in progress. Good. Also, that promotion we discussed last month? It's yours if you want it. Route supervisor, day shift, 20% raise. I'll take it. Tuesday, the criminal charges were filed. Embezzlement, fraud, conspiracy. Both Natalie and Garrett were arrested at their respective homes, or in Garrett's case, his mother's home where he'd been staying since Sylvia kicked him out. The local news picked up the story. Pilates studio scandal. Owner and partner arrested for fraud. They used Natalie's professional headshot from the studio website, the one where she looked so confident and successful. Now it was attached to a criminal case number. Her parents called me that night. Her father, retired police chief James Morrison, was direct. "I'm sorry, Dominic. We didn't raise her to be this way." "I know, Jim. We won't be helping her with bail or lawyers. She made her choices. I appreciate you calling. You're still family to us, son. This divorce doesn't change that. Our door is always open to you." Her mother got on the line, crying. 18 years you took care of her. Worked overtime to pay for her studio dream. And this is how she repays you? It is what it is, Linda. Well, it's wrong, and she'll get no sympathy from us. Wednesday brought Garrett's attempt at negotiation. His lawyer called Harrison, offering a deal. Garrett would pay back the embezzled funds if we dropped the criminal charges. Harrison's response: "That's not how criminal charges work. The state presses those, not us. Besides, paying back what you stole doesn't erase the theft." Thursday, exactly 1 week after discovery, Natalie's studio was padlocked. She'd missed the lease payment while trying to scramble for lawyers and bail money. The landlord, who happened to be one of Michael Richardson's companies, exercised the immediate termination clause. The custom reformer machines she'd been so proud of, the ones I'd helped her pick out, were seized by creditors and auctioned Friday morning. They sold for 10 cents on the dollar. Lauren, Natalie's sister, called me Friday afternoon. "She's staying with me," she said without preamble, "but I'm giving her 1 week. I can't deal with her crying about how unfair this all is. That's between you and her." "No, Dom, I need you to know something. You were the best thing that ever happened to her, and she threw it away for what? Garrett Steinberg? That walking midlife crisis who wears more hair gel than a teenager. Lauren, I'm serious. She had everything. A devoted husband, a successful business, a beautiful home, and she destroyed it all because she was bored? Because you were too routine? Life is routine. That's what makes it life. I appreciate. I'm not done. She's been lying to everyone for months. Told me you were emotionally distant, that you didn't support her dreams. Meanwhile, you were working 60-hour weeks to pay for those dreams. She's delusional, Dom. Completely delusional." 3 weeks after that Thursday morning, the divorce papers were filed. Harrison had chosen the jurisdiction carefully. A conservative county known for taking a dim view of adultery, especially when combined with financial fraud. Natalie was served at her sister's apartment since she'd been evicted from Lauren's house after a week. The process server said she didn't even cry, just stared at the papers like she couldn't understand the words. Garrett was served at his mother's house during Sunday dinner. His mother, according to the process server, told him to pack his things and leave immediately after reading what he was accused of. The restraining order was approved after Natalie's third attempt to break into the house. The security cameras captured everything. Her trying her old key repeatedly, then attempting to jimmy a window, finally collapsing on the front porch, sobbing and screaming at the cameras. "It was a mistake," she wailed to the camera at 2 a.m., drunk on wine. Lauren later told me she'd stolen from her apartment. "Garrett meant nothing. You're my husband. You have to forgive me. It's in the vows, for better or worse." The police were gentle but firm when they arrived, especially after seeing the restraining order. "Ma'am, you need to leave the property. That's my house. I live there. I decorated every room." "Not according to this paperwork, ma'am." "Come on, let's get you somewhere safe." The criminal trial was swift. Garrett pled guilty to avoid a longer sentence, receiving 2 years probation and mandatory restitution. He also had to surrender his personal training license and was barred from working in financial management roles. Natalie fought the charges initially, claiming Garrett had manipulated her. But when presented with the evidence, emails where she explicitly discussed hiding money from me, texts where she bragged to Garrett about how clueless I was, she took a plea deal. 18 months. Probation, restitution, and a felony record that would follow her forever. The divorce was finalized 4 months after that Thursday. The judge, a woman in her 60s who'd clearly seen it all, reviewed the evidence with barely concealed disgust. "Mrs. Reeves," she said, using Natalie's soon-to-be former name, "you betrayed your marriage vows, stole from your husband's investment, and committed fraud against the business he helped you build. You did this not out of necessity or desperation, but out of pure selfishness." Natalie's lawyer tried to argue for a more equitable distribution of assets, citing California's community property laws. The judge cut him off. Community property assumes both parties acted in good faith. Mrs. Reeves did not. The fraud and embezzlement charges negate any claim to equitable distribution. I was awarded 85% of our marital assets. Natalie was ordered to repay the $75,000 loan plus interest and penalties, roughly $92,000 total. The criminal conviction meant the debt couldn't be discharged in bankruptcy. How am I supposed to pay this? Natalie demanded in court, her voice breaking. I have nothing. You've taken everything. You took everything for yourself, the judge replied coldly. You had a devoted husband, a successful business, and a comfortable life. You chose to destroy all of that for an affair with a married man. The court is not sympathetic to the consequences of your choices. As we left the courthouse, Natalie tried one more time to talk to me. Dom, please. You loved me once. How can you be so cruel? I stopped, turned, and looked at her directly. I did love you once, completely. But that woman doesn't exist anymore. Maybe she never did. I'm still me. I made a mistake, but I'm still the woman you married. No, the woman I married wouldn't have betrayed me, wouldn't have stolen from me, wouldn't have lied to me for 8 months while sleeping with another man. That woman is dead, and you killed her. I walked away, leaving her crying on the courthouse steps. Her lawyer helped her to a bench while I got into my truck. I'd sold the BMW and bought something practical, and drove away. 6 months later, life had found a new rhythm. The supervisor position came with regular hours, better pay, and no more 60-hour weeks unless I wanted them. I'd renovated the house, removing every trace of Natalie's influence. The neutral colors she'd insisted on were gone, replaced with warm earth tones. The formal living room she'd decorated but never used was now a home gym. The meditation space she'd created but abandoned after a week was my office. I'd bought the motorcycle I'd wanted since I was 20, a Harley-Davidson Road King in black and chrome. Natalie had always said motorcycles were death traps and midlife crisis cliches. The first time I rode it, I felt more alive than I had in years. The Veterans Motorcycle Club I joined became an unexpected source of brotherhood. We did charity rides, helped elderly vets with home repairs, and met weekly at a dive bar that would have horrified Natalie's sophisticated sensibilities. That's where I met Angela. She was tending bar that night, covering for a friend. Navy veteran, 6 years as a corpsman, now working as a trauma nurse at the VA hospital. She rode her own bike, a Triumph Bonneville she'd rebuilt herself. Nice bike, she said when I ordered a beer. Thanks, yours is pretty sweet too. Saw it outside. You know bikes? Learning? Got mine 6 months ago. Divorce bike? I laughed. That obvious? The good ones usually are. Let me guess. She hated motorcycles, probably called them dangerous, said you were too old for toys. Add in irresponsible and childish, and you've got it. My ex said the same thing. Also hated my job, my friends, my music, basically everything about me except my paycheck. We talked until her shift ended, then went for a ride along the coast. She knew roads I'd never discovered, places where you could see the ocean stretch forever. We stopped at a hole-in-the-wall taco place that had the best fish tacos I'd ever eaten. This is nice, she said, sitting across from me at a picnic table, still in our riding gear. No pretense, no BS, just good food and good company. My ex would have hated this place. Mine too. Required a Yelp rating of at least 4.5 stars and a wine list. Did we marry the same person? She laughed, a genuine sound that made other diners smile. Maybe they all go to the same training camp. How to Suck the Joy Out of Life 101. We started riding together regularly. Weekend trips up the coast, sometimes overnight runs to places neither of us had been. She was easy to be with. No drama, no games, no constantly documenting everything for social media. One night, about 3 months after we met, she asked about the divorce. Was it bad? She cheated with her business partner, used the business I'd invested in to fund the affair, got caught when I delivered a package to the wrong house at the right time. Ouch, how long? 8 months. Double ouch. You take her for everything. Everything I could legally take, yes. Good. My ex cheated too. With my best friend. In our bed. While I was deployed. Jesus. Yeah. Came home early from Afghanistan to surprise him. Got surprised instead. What did you do? Nothing illegal, but his car might have accidentally ended up in the ocean. Brake failure, you know. These things happen. I laughed so hard I nearly choked on my beer. 8 months after that Thursday morning, I was back on Rodriguez's route. He was on vacation this time, not sick. The algorithm brought me to 7823 Sycamore Ridge Drive just after 10 a.m. A young couple lived there now. The husband, maybe 30, signed for the package with a stylus. Nice neighborhood, I commented. Yeah, we got lucky. Previous owner had to sell fast. Some kind of scandal. Their loss, our gain. Funny how that works. You know what they say, one person's disaster is another's opportunity. Couldn't have said it better myself. I drove away from Willowbrook Estates, the radio playing classic rock, my phone showing a text from Angela about our weekend ride to Vegas. We were planning to take a full week, ride through Death Valley, maybe get married at a silly chapel if the mood struck us. No planning, no spreadsheets, no Instagram documentation. Just two people on bikes seeing where the road went. Natalie was working at a department store in the mall, folding clothes in the section where she used to shop. Her wages were garnished, $387.50 monthly, the maximum allowed by law. Every penny went to the Veterans Center, funding emergency assistance for vets in crisis. The last time I'd seen her was at a gas station. She was pumping gas into a 15-year-old Honda Civic with a cracked windshield and mismatched doors. She saw me but pretended not to, hunching her shoulders and turning away. I felt nothing, not satisfaction, not pity, just nothing. She was a stranger who happened to look like someone I used to know. Garrett had fled to Arizona, working at a chain gym for $12 an hour plus commission. His Instagram, which used to feature luxury cars and expensive watches, now showed motivational quotes over stock photos. Every day is a new beginning. Your only limit is you. The comments were turned off. Harrison called occasionally with updates. Natalie's bankruptcy filing had been partially rejected. The criminal restitution stood. She'd tried dating but couldn't hide her past. A simple Google search brought up the news articles about the embezzlement. One guy had actually called me to verify the stories. Is it true? He'd asked. Did she really steal 75 grand? Court records are public, I'd told him. Look them up yourself. He had. They didn't have a second date. Lauren still sent me Christmas cards, always with notes apologizing for her sister. The last one said Natalie was in therapy, finally admitting some responsibility for her choices. Too little, too late, but at least she was no longer playing the victim. Her parents invited me to Thanksgiving that year. I brought Angela. This is weird, she'd said on the drive over. They're good people. They're as disgusted with Natalie as anyone. Still weird. But it wasn't. Jim and Linda embraced Angela immediately, grateful I'd found someone worthy of me. Natalie's name wasn't mentioned once. Her chair at the table remained empty, no place setting, like she'd never existed. "You look happy," Linda told me while doing dishes. "I am. Good. You deserve it, after everything. It worked out. Because you made it work out. You didn't wallow, didn't become bitter. You just moved forward. Only direction worth going." A year after that Thursday morning, almost to the hour, I was in my office scheduling routes when my phone buzzed. Unknown number, but I recognized the area code. Willowbrook. "Hello? Is this Dominic Reeves?" "Yes." "This is Patricia Coleman. I represent Natalie Morrison in the matter of—" "Morrison?" She went back to her maiden name. "Yes. I'm calling about the restitution payments. My client is experiencing undue hardship." "No. I haven't explained the situation. Don't need to." The answer is no. The court ordered restitution. She pays it or faces jail. No modifications, no negotiations. "Mr. Reeves, surely you can see that the amount is excessive. She stole $75,000. She's paying back 92 with interest and penalties. That's not excessive, that's justice. She's working minimum wage. After rent and basic expenses, she has nothing left. Then she should get a second job. Or a third. I worked 60-hour weeks for years to support her dreams. She can do the same to pay back what she stole." "That's rather vindictive. That's rather legal. Have a good day, counselor." I hung up and went back to my schedules. 10 minutes later, Harrison called. "Just got an interesting call from Patricia Coleman." "Natalie's lawyer?" "Former lawyer. She's withdrawing from the case. Apparently, Natalie lied about her finances. She just got back from a trip to Cabo with some new boyfriend. Posted it all over Instagram. Hard to claim hardship when you're sipping margaritas on a beach. She never learns. Some people can't. By the way, the boyfriend dumped her when he found out why she was really broke. Thought she was just down on her luck, not a convicted felon." That night, Angela and I rode up to the observatory. The city lights spread below us like scattered diamonds, the ocean a dark mass in the distance. She leaned against me, our bikes side by side. "Any regrets?" she asked. "About what?" "The nuclear option. Total destruction." "I didn't destroy anything. I just stopped preventing the consequences of her actions. There's a difference. Semantics. No, it's not. If I'd sought revenge, I would have done things to hurt her just to hurt her. Instead, I just removed myself from the equation and let reality do the rest. She built a house of cards on a foundation of lies. I just stopped shielding it from the wind. That's almost poetic. That's just true." We rode home as the marine layer rolled in, the temperature dropping enough to make the ride exhilarating. At her apartment, she'd moved in 3 months ago, we parked the bikes and headed inside. The place was nothing like the house I'd shared with Natalie. No perfect decorations, no color-coordinated everything, no throw pillows that couldn't actually be thrown. Just comfortable furniture, motorcycle parts at the dining table, and a dog named Diesel who thought he was a lapdog despite weighing 90 pounds. "Want a beer?" Angela asked, already heading to the kitchen. "Always." We sat on the couch, Diesel between us, watching some action movie where the physics made no sense, but the explosions were fantastic. Natalie would have critiqued the plot, the acting, the cinematography. Angela just enjoyed it for what it was. "I love you," I said suddenly, surprising myself. She looked at me, smiled. "I know. That's it?" "You know." "Dom, you've been saying it without words for months. Every time you check my tire pressure before a ride. Every time you bring me coffee without being asked. Every time you trust me with your story, your pain, your recovery, words are just confirmation. I still like saying them. Then say them again. I love you. I love you too. Now shut up, the best part's coming. On screen, something exploded spectacularly. Diesel barked at the noise. Angela laughed. I pulled her closer and thought about how different this was from my old life. No drama, no lies, no performance. Just two people who'd been broken and rebuilt themselves stronger. My phone buzzed with an email. The monthly restitution payment had been processed. $387.50, right on schedule. I forwarded it to the Veterans Center without reading the details. Natalie? Angela asked, seeing the sender. The court. Restitution payment. How much longer? 6 years, give or take. Good. We watched the rest of the movie in comfortable silence. Later, getting ready for bed, I found myself thinking about that Thursday morning. How a simple route change had changed everything. Rodriguez's stomach bug had been the butterfly that caused a hurricane. What are you thinking about? Angela asked, watching me from the bathroom doorway. Chaos theory? Nerd. How one small change can cascade into massive consequences. The package? The package. If Rodriguez hadn't gotten sick, if I hadn't taken that route, if I'd delivered to Sycamore Ridge at any other time, you'd still be married to a cheater, just wouldn't know it. True. So really, Rodriguez's food poisoning was the best thing that ever happened to you. Second best. What's the first? You. Now who's cheesy? But she smiled when she said it, the kind of smile that reached her eyes and made her whole face light up. The kind Natalie had stopped giving me years before I caught her, if I was honest with myself. The next morning was Saturday. We took the bikes out early, before traffic, and rode to the breakfast place that had become our tradition. Nothing fancy. A diner that had been there since the 60s, where the coffee was strong and the pancakes were the size of plates. Morning, Dom? Angela. The owner, Carl, called out as we entered. The usual? You know it, Angela replied, sliding into our regular booth. This was life now. Simple, honest, real. No pretense, no performance, no constantly wondering if I was enough. I was enough. More than enough. Halfway through breakfast, a couple walked in that I recognized vaguely. The woman saw me, whispered to her husband, and they quickly chose a table on the far side of the diner. Friends of Natalie's? Angela asked, noticing. Were. Kristen and David something. Used to come to our dinner parties. The ones where you had to use the right fork? And talk about wine regions and authentic Quisubni. Sounds awful. It was. I just didn't know it. You know what I love about us? Angela asked suddenly. What? We don't have dinner parties. We have barbecues. People bring beer and coolers and argue about sports, and nobody cares if you eat with your hands. We should have one soon. Next weekend? Weather's supposed to be good. I'll invite the club. I'll make my grandfather's ribs. The ones with the secret sauce? That's the ones. I love you. You just love my ribs. That too. We finished breakfast and rode home the long way, through the mountains where the roads curved like ribbons and the morning sun painted everything gold. At a scenic overlook, we stopped to stretch. Look, Angela pointed to the valley below where Willowbrook Estates sprawled in manicured perfection. Your old life. No, I corrected, putting my arm around her. That was never my life. That was a life I was paying for but never living. Deep. True. Both. My phone rang. Marcus from work. Sorry to bother you on Saturday, he said, but I've got a situation. What's up? One of our new drivers, kid named Thompson, is going through something. His wife's cheating. He just found out. He's not handling it well. You want me to talk to him? If you wouldn't mind. He knows your story. Everyone does. Maybe you could give him some perspective. Send him my number. I'll meet him for coffee. Thanks, Dom. I knew I could count on you. After I hung up, Angela looked at me curiously. You're going to help him? Why not? Someone helped me. Harrison, Marcus, even Sylvia Richardson in her way. Pay it forward, right? You're a good man, Dominic Reeves. I'm a man who learned from his mistakes. Same thing. Thompson called an hour later. We met at a coffee shop downtown, neutral territory. He was young, maybe 25, with the shell-shocked look I remembered from my own mirror a year ago. How did you do it? He asked without preamble. How did you just handle everything so calmly? I didn't handle it calmly. I handled it strategically. There's a difference. What do you mean? I wanted to burn everything down, wanted to hurt her like she hurt me. But that would have made me the bad guy, given her ammunition in court, maybe even landed me in jail. So what did you do? I got organized. Got a good lawyer, documented everything. Then I let the system work. That's it? That's everything. Look, kid, Thompson, the urge to go nuclear is natural, but revenge and justice aren't the same thing. Revenge feels good for a minute, but leaves you empty. Justice takes longer but lasts forever. Did you ever forgive her? No, and I never will. Forgiveness is for people who deserve it, who show remorse, who try to make amends. She did none of that. She's only sorry she got caught. How do you know? Because she's still blaming everyone but herself. Last I heard, she tells people I overreacted, that I destroyed her life over one mistake. 8 months isn't one mistake. No, it's thousands of choices. Each text, each lie, each time she came home and kissed me after being with him, those were all choices. Thompson stared into his coffee. My wife says it just happened, like she had no control. Nothing just happens. Every affair starts with a choice to cross a line, then another, then another. It's not one big leap. It's 1,000 small steps in the wrong direction. I want to take her back. Why? Because I love her. No, you love who you thought she was. That person doesn't exist. Maybe never did. We talked for 2 hours. I gave him Harrison's number, told him about documenting everything, about protecting assets, about the importance of staying legal and above board. He left looking less destroyed, more determined. Thanks, he said, shaking my hand. This helped more than you know. Call if you need anything. This club no one wants to join. We look out for each other. That afternoon, Angela and I cleaned out the garage to make room for a workshop she wanted to set up. In the back, behind boxes of Christmas decorations, I found a container I'd forgotten about. Natalie's wedding dress, preserved in plastic. What do you want to do with this? Angela asked. I don't know. Seems wrong to throw it away, but I don't want it here. Donate it? Who wants a used wedding dress from a failed marriage? Good point. She thought for a moment. There's that organization that makes burial gowns for stillborn babies from wedding dresses. That's actually perfect. Something good from something ruined. Want me to handle it? Would you? Of course. She took the box, and I never asked what happened to it. Some things were better left in the past. That evening we had dinner with my mother. She'd been devastated by the divorce, She'd loved Natalie like a daughter, but she'd been more devastated by the betrayal. I still can't believe it, she said over dessert. 15 years of family dinners, holidays, birthdays. All of it a lie? Not all of it, Mom. She changed. Or maybe I just finally saw who she really was. Angela doesn't seem like the type to change, my mother said, looking at Angela approvingly. Ma'am, I am who I am. Take it or leave it, Angela replied. I'll take it. And call me Mom. Everyone does. Later, driving home, Angela was quiet. Your mom's great, she finally said. She likes you. I like her. Different from Natalie's family? Natalie's parents were formal. Everything had to be perfect. My mom just wants everyone fed and happy. My kind of people. Mine too. Just took me a while to remember that. Sunday was the barbecue with the motorcycle club. 20 people showed up, filling the backyard with laughter and stories. Someone brought a karaoke machine, which led to terrible renditions of classic rock songs and a lot of good-natured heckling. This is fun, Mike, one of the newer members, said to me while flipping burgers. My ex never let me have people over. Said my friends were too loud. Mine said they were uncouth. What does that even mean? No idea, but apparently it was bad. To uncouth friends, then, he said, raising his beer. To uncouth friends. As the sun set, people started leaving, everyone helping clean up without being asked. Angela and I stood in the kitchen, washing dishes side by side, working in comfortable synchronization. Good day, she said. Perfect day. Even with Mike singing? Especially with Mike singing. Did you hear his version of Born to be Wild? I think the neighbors 3 blocks away heard it. We laughed, finished cleaning, and headed to bed early. Tomorrow was Monday, back to work, back to routine. But it was a routine I'd chosen, not one imposed on me. I thought about Natalie, probably in her studio apartment, plotting her next move, her next boyfriend, her next chance to be someone else's problem. Garrett was probably in Arizona, selling gym memberships and remembering when he owned the gym. They'd both lost everything by trying to have everything. I'd gained everything by being willing to lose it all. What are you thinking about? Angela asked, curling against me in the dark. Victory. That's a weird thing to think about in bed. Not that kind of victory. What kind then? The kind where you win by not playing the game. You're getting philosophical again. You love it. I love you. Even when I'm philosophical? Especially then. Now go to sleep. Some of us have real jobs in the morning. Hey, I have a real job. Riding around in shorts all day? It's harder than it looks. Everything's harder than it looks. Except revenge. That's exactly as hard as it looks. Good thing I didn't get revenge then. Right. You got justice. Exactly. Whatever helps you sleep at night, baby. But I did sleep. Like I had every night for months now. No guilt, no regrets, no wondering what if. Just the peace that comes from knowing you did the right thing the right way and came out the other side better for it. The wrong delivery route had led to the right life, and that was worth everything I'd lost to find it.